my name's Samara, and this morning's devotional is on the topic of friendships. So, firstly, I just want to point out why friendships are even a topic that we should talk about here at youth or church. There's a verse in 1 Corinthians where Paul is advising the people of Corinth about friendships, and he says this. He says, "Do not be misled. Bad company corrupts good character." This is a very straightforward Bible verse, right? We can see exactly what Paul is trying to say. He is telling us that the people we hang around and the people that we let influence us really have a massive impact on who we're becoming. This means that choosing good friends and being a good friend is really important. The first point to remember from this devotional is to put thought into your friendships. Having friends who support and encourage our faith, for example, is actually really important. I'm not saying to only have Christian friends. I don't think that's a good idea either. But if you don't have friends that encourage you and bring you joy and true fun, who love you, then they're not really going to be able to help you to grow into the person you're wanting to become. So putting thought into our friendships is really important. Now let's actually look at what a good friend looks like. So what does a good friend look like? Well, there's a verse in Colossians 3 verse 12 to 14, and it covers what a good friend looks like. I'm just going to read it. And this is Paul writing to a church, and he's telling them, he says to them, "As God's chosen people, holy and dearly loved, clothe yourself with compassion, kindness, humility, gentleness, and patience. Bear with each other and forgive one another if any of you have any grievances against each other. Forgive as the Lord forgave you, and over all of these virtues put on love, which binds them all together in perfect unity." This verse is a beautiful picture of what a friend should look like in your life. And I just want to go through those 5 virtues which Paul points out. So firstly, he starts with compassion. Compassion is a sympathetic kindness towards other people when they're going through something tough. And then he says kindness. Kindness is selfless, merciful love that we can show to anyone and everyone. He then talks about humility. And humility is believing what God says about you above what you say about yourself or above what any other friend says about you, for example. So he says, clothe yourself in compassion, kindness, humility. He then says gentleness. Gentleness is acting in a caring and respectful way towards others. And then he talks about patience, and that's self-restraint, maybe holding back the anger or the reactionary emotions that come up when someone really annoys you. So these 5 virtues, Paul says, are really important when you're with your friend. This is how you should treat friends, and this is how friends should treat you. The verse then goes on to say to forgive your friends like the Lord forgives you. And that is just a crazy standard to live up to, because the Lord's forgiveness, he is exponentially generous in his forgiveness. So the more we stuff up, the more forgiveness he shows us, right? And Paul is saying that we should try to live up to this standard with our friends. We shouldn't hold their past against them or anything like that. And then he finishes off this verse by saying just to altogether love one another. So these 5 virtues, forgive, as well as forgiving your friends and just loving them, this is what a good friend should look like. So we've covered first and foremost that friendships are worth enough to actually put good thought into them, put thought into your friendships. And then secondly, how to choose a good friend. What does a good friend look like? We've been through that. Thirdly, be the kind of friend you want to have. You also need to be acting and living in a way like that verse that we just unpacked towards your friends in order to have healthy friendships. Maybe you're realizing that you haven't acted this way with some of your friends. That's okay. We can go from here with what we've learned today and love our friends in the best way possible. None of us are perfect. This is always going to be something we're growing in. So that's just my third point, to be the kind of friend you want. Now, I want you to go from here and not conform to the kind of friendships that the world may put forward as good. Friendships that are maybe unhealthy or include gossiping or toxic, or friendships that are selfishly driven. We don't need to take part in that. We can remember the kind of friend that Jesus was when he was on earth. We can remember the beautiful description that God has given us of what a good friend should look like. And we can seek those kind of people out, and we can be that to our friends. Friends are a massive influence in this life and should bring so much joy and community to you. So this is why we must choose well. I hope you've enjoyed today's devotional, guys. I hope you go and have a good day, and we'll see you tomorrow for the next devotional.